Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another IELTS Journey with Fabi, where we talk about everything and anything IELTS. And these are special lives because this is a warm up for the workshop IELTS Booster. It starts on Monday. All right, starts on Monday. And in this workshop, IELTS Booster, I will share with you the mistakes my students are making. And then I'll tell you how to fix them. And I'll tell you how the IELTS test works. Then I'll share with you some strategies. Then I'll answer some questions that you have been asking me because I get questions every day from you guys, every day. Okay. So, um, for those of you watching, I will be more on YouTube than I will be on Instagram. So, I'm going to put the link here just so you can join me when you're ready. All right. Goody, goody. Cool. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Fabi. I'm an English teacher and I help people prove their English level so they can achieve their goals abroad. What is your goal? Would you like to study abroad? Would you like to live abroad? Would you like to work abroad? It doesn't matter what you want to do abroad, guys. You need the IELTS test. I even helped some students study in countries such as Spain, Germany, Italy. And guess what? When they go there, the classes are in English. And guess what they need? They need the IELTS test. Yeah, so they can improve their English. Goody, goody, let's go. So today, I'm going to talk about something that lots of people think it's a secret, but it is not. How do the examiners check your writing? Do you know? Some people are saying hello, hello. uh, okay. If you're watching me on Instagram, maybe you want to click and go to YouTube. Okay, when you're ready. So yeah, guys. So um, lots of people think it's a secret the way that examiners check your writing, but it is not. Let me start by sharing something with you. We'll go into it later, okay? But I just want to share it with you. Oops, wrong button. Here. Okay. Let me share here. Cool. This is for task 2, but there's also one for task 1. Today we're going to focus on task 2, okay? This is how the examiners will check your test. And I don't have this because I'm special. Anyone can get this file. Anyone. If you go online and type IELTS writing test tube and descriptors, you will find this PDF. All right. So here we have everything. This is how they are going to check it. Okay, guys, this is how. And I'm going to tell you more about it in a moment. There is no secret. There is no secret. Okay. So let's talk about it. Let's start. Okay. So the main reason I think people think there is a little secret is because the sorry, the reason people think there is a little secret it's because it might be very hard for people to get the score they need in writing. Okay, so lots of people complain that it's difficult, blah blah blah. Okay, so I think the main reason why people think that is because people don't know what the examiners are expecting. And that is why some people get stuck with a 6, can get a 6.5. Some people get stuck with a 6.5, can't get a 7 because they don't know how the examiner is going to check. That's one of the biggest reasons. Okay? So, as I mentioned before, the way they check your writing is task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammar range vocabulary. So I'm going to share my screen again, and then we can go over that together. Okay, yeah. Cool. Okay, so have a look here. Okay, so how are they going to organize? Let me just move my computer a little bit so it's closer to me. Yeah, all right, cool. So how are they going to check it? First of all, guys, they are going to check what we call, go yellow and green, task response. Okay, task response just means, did you understand what the examiners asked? That's it. Okay, did you understand what the examiners asked? So, oops, here, these are the most popular scores, right? 7 and 6. So to get a 7, for example, the main parts of the prompts are appropriately addressed. Okay. So that's one thing that you need to do to get a 7. But then, if you're stuck in a 6, what's probably happening? The main parts of the prompt are addressed, though some may be more fully than others. If you do what they asked properly, 7. If you do what they ask properly, but there is one or two parts that's still not good, you are a 6. Then, let's have a look. Coherence and cohesion is, what is, does it make sense? Are you using cohesive devices? So the first, I'm going to focus on the first one because that's the most important one. Of course, there's others one. For example, clear development and position is presented. Let's say it's agree, disagree. So you clearly agree, clearly disagree. And then here, position is presented and is directly relevant to the prompt, although the conclusion drawn may be unclear and justified or repetitive. So if you can do this with a few mistakes, if you can do this with a few mistakes, you are a 6. Okay, so I'm just going to focus on the first one because I feel it's the most important one. And unfortunately, we don't have time to do all of it today. Okay, all right, cool. Coherence and cohesion. So, information and ideas are logically organized, and there is a clear progression throughout the response. So, information, logically organized, paragraphs, clear progression throughout the response. You are making sense. You have a point. And when they say lapses may occur, meaning there can be some mistakes, but they're minor. That's one of the reasons also, guys. To get a 7, you cannot be making a lot of mistakes. All right? And then this one I'd like to point out, a range of cohesive devices. Cohesive devices are the linking words, the transitions, the connectors, the conjunctions. These are cohesive devices, including reference and substitution, flexibility, blah, blah, blah. Some inaccuracies, meaning, yes, you can make some mistakes, doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect is a 9. Doesn't have to be perfect, okay? And some under and overuse. Oh, I think the bottom's cut. Yeah, the bottom's cut. There's more information here, guys. For some reason, I don't have it. So, but what I want to point out is um, cohesive devices, okay, and inaccuracies, and some under or overuse, meaning when we talk about cohesive devices, usually when people start practicing, they either have 0 cohesive devices or they have too much. That's why they're talking about overuse and underuse. Okay, you need just the right amount, not under nor over, just the right amount. Okay, and that's what they're trying to say here to you. All right. Now, for 6, information and ideas are generally arranged coherently, and there is a clear overall progression. So generally and clear overall progression. So you're still making sense, but sometimes you don't make a lot of sense, but that's okay because it's a 6. But then with cohesive devices, some good use, so some good effect, okay? But cohesion within our sense between maybe faulty mechanical due to misuse. Okay, now again, look, misuse, overuse, or omission. What does it mean? Remember here, you had to use it. Could be incorrect sometimes for a 7, could be incorrect sometimes. Okay, but then some people use it a lot, some people don't use it as much. But then with for a 6, you will probably be making misuse, meaning using it incorrectly. Or you're going to overuse, which is too much. Omission, don't use it enough. So can you see the difference? Can you see the difference, guys? Okay. You can pop the questions in. I can't see your comments right now, but you can pop the questions in and I will get to it later. Now, honestly speaking, when it comes to lexical resource and coherence and cohesion, people can use it properly. They don't get it's not that hard to get a 7 here. And the way I work with my students is in the beginning of our process, we work a lot on task response and coherence and cohesion. A lot. Because I feel this is the easiest part. Okay, it's not that hard to do what they asked. It's not that hard to write a text in paragraphs. It's not that hard to use the cohesive devices. It's not that hard to make sense. It's not. I have a very good strategies that can get my students to a 6 like that. Okay. However, where most people get stuck is here, guys. That's what I see. And that's what examiners tell me too. Okay. As I told you before, I'm not an examiner because if I was an examiner, I would not be able to be here with you right now. I have been asked to become an examiner. Every now and again, I get an email, hey, would you like to become an examiner? And I don't reply because if I become an examiner, I cannot be here with you. However, when I started teaching the IELTS test, I was trained by an examiner. I was trained by an examiner. So I know the stuff. And I have lots of friends who are examiners. And every time you guys have a question that I can't answer, I ask them. I ask them. And it's funny because I was talking to a friend who's an examiner. And then I said, oh my God, like my students, I'm helping my students, da da da. And then I said, oh, can I ask you some questions, that they have? It's like, of course, Fabi, because sometimes, I'm reading, I'm reading the essay and I'm just thinking about it. Because my friends who are examiners, they're also teachers. They teach. They were former teachers, most of them. They're just examiners now. They don't teach anymore. But they said, Fabi, I can just imagine myself teaching these students, telling the students what they have to do to improve. Because I really like, oh my God, don't do this, don't do that. And she said, I'm talking to them in my head. And I said, okay, tell me all the information and I will tell them. So I'm always talking to them. And I know that from my experience. And that's what they tell me too. They tell me that the biggest problem is grammar. Biggest problem is grammar. Okay. And lexical resource, of course. I think that's the one that you really have to stop and study. And most people don't. My students do because I make them. Okay, cool. So now let's think about what it is like for a 7 in the lexical resource, which is vocabulary, which is a fancy word for vocabulary. The source is sufficient to allow some flexibility and precision. Okay. So maybe you're using the words that they related to the topic, okay, and you're using it correctly. And flexibility just means a variety. Okay, so not so much repetition. Okay, next, there is some ability to use less common and or idiomatic items. So we go here, less common, and we go idiomatic items. Okay, less common and idiomatic items. So when we say less common, so I usually, what I tell my students, which means less common, is academic words, or it means for sophisticated words. I usually use these words with my students to mean less common. Okay, these are the words that you don't see every day. All right, you don't see these words every day. And idiomatic expressions are the idioms. Okay, and I feel that one of the problems with idioms that sometimes some of them might not fit the topic very well. Okay, so some people are not using it that much, but it's okay. All right, it's okay. Some people use it, some people don't. But one of the things that is very important too is awareness of style and collocation. Collocations. Okay, so what are collocations? Collocations are those words that go together. These are collocations. Make the bed or do the bed. This is always my example. Make dinner or do dinner. These are collocations. Tell a secret, say a secret. Tell a secret. So, sorry. If you're using these words correctly, 7, you can make some mistakes, as they say here. You can make, but just a few mistakes, not a lot of mistakes. Remember, 7 is academic, guys. You can't make a lot of mistakes. Can't make a lot of mistakes. Okay. Now, what does the 6 look like? Here. So, resource is generally adequate and appropriate, meaning, okay, good vocabulary. Nothing amazing, just good. The meaning is clear in spite of restricted range and lack of precision. So, restricted range means probably repetition. You don't change the words, there is repetition. And precision, lack of precision. Lack of precision would mean mistakes. So, can you see with the 7, you're not making a lot of mistakes. With the 6, you can make some mistakes. And the writer is a risk taker. There will be a wider range of vocabulary used, but higher degrees of accuracy and appropriacy. Ta-da! So it's funny because usually we as teachers, when we are checking writings, we sometimes use this expression, risk taker. What is a risk taker? Who is a risk taker? A risk taker is a person who takes risks. So let's say that a person has written something, and this something is very simple, but there are no mistakes. The person is not a risk taker. However, if a person tries to use things that are less common, a little bit different, a bit more sophisticated, and makes mistakes, is better. Actually, to me, if my students, okay, and I feel also from examiners, okay, if you have something simple with no mistakes, okay, it's a 6, fine. But if you try to use a few things differently, they're a little bit different or unusual or uncommon, but you make a mistake, it can be a 6.5. That's my experience with my students, okay? And I've spoken to some examiners and they said that is correct. Okay, so taking risks, trying to use different things, even if you make a mistake, maybe it's a little bit better. But of course, my advice is always to, if you're trying new words, Maybe practice in advance just to make sure. But on the day of the test, if that word comes to mind, give it a go. See how you go, because maybe you will be better. All right, goody goody. Okay, now let's talk about grammar. The worst. That's where people get stuck. Grammar, 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 grammar. Oops. So, range and accuracy. This is very important. Range and accuracy. Range meaning variety, accuracy meaning is it correct? Let's have a look. So, for a 7, variety of complex and structures, flexibility and accuracy. So, complex structures would be those sentences that are longer. I always say long sentences or sentences with two parts. That's a complex sentence. Okay, sentence with two parts. Subject, verb, complement, full stop. That's a simple sentence, and you don't want to do that on the outset. You can have some of them. For example, a topic sentence could be simple. I think it's actually good because then it makes an impact, but the rest of it should be complex. Okay, should be complex. All right, and then grammar and punctuation are generally controlled, and error-free sentences are frequent. They want to see a lot of sentences with no mistakes. That's what they want to see. Lots of sentences, no mistakes. That is what they want to see, guys. So, and a few errors. Ingram may persist, but there are more free. I know the rest, but there are more error-free. So, for grammar 7 is all about using good grammar but not making a lot of mistakes. You can make mistakes because we're not perfect. Me myself, I'm doing a course at the University of Tasmania at the moment, and I just submit. I'm about to submit one of my essays, 2,000 words today. I'm going to submit it today. I finished last night, and there is this um, um, website, yeah, from the university where I can send my essay and then can give me their opinion, right? And then I send it to them. And guess what? I made some mistakes. Few, but I made some mistakes. And I'm the teacher. But again, I had 2,000 words there. And I wrote it, like when you write something, it's hard to check your grammar, blah, blah, blah. So I did it. And they found a few mistakes, but still pretty good. But I had a few mistakes. So a few mistakes are allowed. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect, guys. But a few, not too many. Just a few. Just a few. Okay. And then for a 6, a mix of simple and complex sentences. That's what I said, mix and simple. Flexibility is limited. Examples of complex structures are not marked by the same level of accuracy as simple structures. So what they're saying here is when this person writes simple sentences, they don't make mistakes. But when they try to write more complex, they do. You're a 6. To be a 7, few simple sentences, more complex with fewer mistakes. Can you see, guys? There is no secret. There is no secret. There is a secret if you don't have an IELTS expert helping you. If you don't have a person who knows this well, then yes, it is confusing. Then yes, you don't know. Then yes, you're going to take the test heaps of times and you are not going to get your score. That is the secret is get an expert to help you. Okay? Because for you guys, if you're students, it's hard for you to look at your writing and see this. You need someone like I'm explaining this to you. Just this. But what you need is someone looking at your essay and explaining this together. That's what you need. That's exactly what you need, guys. Okay. Hi, hello, hi. Some people are saying hello here. Cool, hello. Yeah. So that's it. So that's how they check it. That's how they check it. All right, guys. That's how they check it. Oh my God. That was a lot of information, huh? I hope you got it all. I hope you got it all. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you quickly two examples that are right. Gonna go back there. Just two examples. All right. Yeah. Cool. Let's have a look. So, oh no, it's up here. No. Oh, it's somewhere else. Sorry, guys. We just have to get this one ready for you, and we will talk about it in a moment. Yeah, got it. Good, good, good. Here. Yeah, lovely. Cool. So, common question. Some people believe the government should spend more money on education while others think it should be invested in healthcare. I've seen this question, not exactly like this, but a similar one. And this one is a discuss both views and give your opinion. So have a look at this introduction. I'm going to give you a few seconds to read the introduction. All right, cool. What score do you think this is? Of course, we have to look at the whole essay to know the real score. But when I see this, if I had to look just at this, there is a score I would give. What score would you give? You can put it in the comments. You think it's a 6 or do you think it's a 7? We just look at what a 6 looks like. What do you think? 6 or 7, 6 or 7, 6 or 7. As you can see, there are not a lot of mistakes. So let's have a look. So we have, right? Task achievement, task response, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammar. Okay. So is the person addressing? Yep, the person is addressing quite well. Even though there could be more information here. 6. Coherence and cohesion. Yeah, not too bad. Missing a few cohesive devices, so 6. Language resource. Quite simple. 6. Grammar. No grammar mistakes, but the grammar is simple. 6. That's it. There are different opinions about the government and how to spend money. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, but it's missing something. Some people think it is better for educators and others. Okay, complex sentence, but with and. No however. There's no however. There's no even though. There's no also. There's nothing. Just and. And with the thesis statement, is as we discussed both views and okay, fine. This is exactly this, isn't it? Tell me something more. Tell me something more. That's why this is a 6. Okay, even though there are no mistakes, huh? But there's no variety, there's no flexibility. Maybe if the person had tried a few more things, a few more sophisticated vocabulary, sophisticated words, and made a mistake, could be 6.5. Now here, check this out. What do you think this is? Da, 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 da. I think you know my answer. Okay, what score do you think this is? It's a 7. This is a 7. I think you should have 3 sentences, not 2, but that's okay. But look, there's a little introduction here, to the sentence. And you see the comma. When you have a comma, it means we have 2 parts. And this essay will examine both perspectives, not both views. And not just that, we'll also explain what the person is going to say. That's a 7. That is a 7, guys. It's not a 6. It's a 7. It is a 7. All right. So, any questions for me? Too much information? Well, you can watch this as many times as you want, okay? The only thing is, I'm just being very honest, it might be hard for you to apply what I just told you by yourself. It might be hard. It's a good idea to get an IELTS expert, not just an English teacher, an IELTS expert to help you with this, okay? Because it can be tricky to analyze this by yourselves. Okay, I say that from experience. Okay, from my students. Okay, I will look at that, but not all the time, because the most important thing, this is a starter point. Okay, the starter point, and then you practice, and then you can go back to that every now and again. All right. So, for those of you who haven't joined yet, the workshop IELTS Booster starts on Monday. The first lesson is on Monday. If you haven't joined yet, the link will be here in the description of this video if you're watching me on YouTube. If you are with me on Instagram, you can go to the link in the bio. All right. I'm going to go now. And the best way to speak to me is through maybe a DM on Instagram. All right. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm back tomorrow. All right. Bye.